Welcome to the Author Your Life podcast, where you can write a new script for your life and become the hero of your story. I'm your host, David McRae. You are the author of your life. Let's get started.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Before we launch into the podcast, I'd like to tell you about my book, Author Your Life, Become the Hero of Your Story. This is a book for people who are at a crossroads in life and want to make a fresh start. Judging by the fact that you're listening to this podcast, I suspect that you may well be one of those people. This book is going to help you to change your narrative and rewrite the scripts in life that are holding you back. This book covers the latest science and research showing you how to become the person you want to be and live the life that you want to live. I'd like to invite you to get this book not only because I feel it's a great book that's going to help you, but also it's going to support the podcast as well. I love podcasts, but sometimes all of those ads that you get can be really irrelevant and annoying when you just want to listen to a good piece of training or a good interview. So I therefore made the decision with my podcasts that number one, I wanted my podcast to be free so that everyone could listen to it. And number two, that I wasn't going to fund it through all these annoying and irrelevant adverts and commercials. Therefore, if you want to support the podcast and support all the things that I put out there for free, whether it be here on the podcast, my YouTube channel, other areas on social media, then buying a book is going to enable and help that process. So this is what we call a win-win scenario. By buying the book, you help to support my work and all the free stuff that I put out there, and you also get a really transformational book that's going to help you make those changes that you really want in your life. So if you feel you're someone who's at that crossroads in life, you're looking for a new direction, you're looking for a fresh start, then make sure you get this book. Author Your Life, Become the Hero of Your Story is available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Whatever your preferred medium, it's there for you to go get right now. Hello, story changers, and welcome back to another episode of the Author Your Life podcast. Today on the podcast, we have something slightly different. So this isn't my usual kind of pre-recorded training sections. This isn't one of my interviews. This is kind of something sort of in between. This was an extended training that I was invited to do in a Facebook group. And what I've done is, very kindly, with the group creator's permission, I have got a copy of this training and I'm going to share it here with you. Now, this was something that I only did in the Facebook group. This was something just for the people who are in the Facebook group, designed to help them, but I thought it could really help you guys as well. So this is a half-hour training segment called Pathway to Purpose. And what I was talking about on this particular training was, unsurprisingly, how you get on your pathway to purpose. How do you start to identify what your purpose might be? How do you start to develop and discover more about your purpose? And ultimately, as we all want to do in life, we ultimately want to find that purpose and we want to live our purpose. So a couple of things that I covered in this training. First of all, how to find out what you already know about your purpose. Why follow your passion is terrible advice. And how to develop the 4 components of your purpose. So I hope you enjoy this training that I did in the Facebook group, and I hope that it's going to help benefit and provide for you as well here on the podcast. All right, we are live. Hello, everyone in the Niche Marketing Hero group. My Speakers Week has fairly been kicking off, hasn't it? There's been loads of people in the group, and what I've really liked to have seen so far this week is actually the diversity in some of the topics that are being discussed in this group. It just goes to show that there's so much more that we can learn from each other and so much expertise and skills that are within this community. And it's my delight and my privilege to be able to join this ensemble of speakers here in Speakers Week to share with you a little bit of my expertise and knowledge and experience and background. So thank you very much for joining me here on the live today. We have just hit the gong. We've hit the 5 p.m. bell. So this should be about the time where, for anyone who is still in a a kind of professional, conventional career, this might be the time where you're just coming out of work. Perhaps you managed to sneak out a little bit early. Alternatively, if you're an entrepreneur with self-imposed deadlines, perhaps this too is also your finish time. So welcome and thank you for joining me. Hello to whoever's just tuned in. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this with their live videos, but I noticed that, and this hasn't always happened, that when people come on live, the names have stopped coming down at the bottom. So the eyeballs will come up in the corner, but then you don't see who's coming on. So apologies if I don't give you a shout out and give you a call out in person as I'm seeing you. I do see the eyeballs. I do know you're there. There's 2 people in so far. Thank you for joining me this evening. To get started, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an introduction. Who I am, what I do, my one sentence line. This isn't going to be a big long life story. My name is David McRae. I'm an author, speaker, podcaster, and I help disgruntled professionals start a new chapter of their life so that they can find their purpose in life. And it's this topic of purpose that I'm going to be speaking to you about today. How do we find our purpose in life? Because essentially, at the end of the day, why have all of us in this group started our businesses? It's because we believe that this business is going to be a key aspect of our purpose. Everyone in this group is going to be at different stages in this journey. Some of you, perhaps, as I said, are still in your conventional career, your conventional employment, and you're looking to start something up on the side. And maybe you don't even actually know exactly what that looks like. You just know what you're in right now isn't suited for you. So perhaps that's where you are right at the beginning of the journey. Maybe you're someone who, whilst you're still relying on a job as a main source of income, you've got something that's on the side and it's gaining a bit of momentum, it's gaining a bit of traction, it's starting to feel good, you get that sense you're going in the right direction, and you really want to just kick things on and begin that transition from what you're doing for just sustainability to doing something that is in line with your purpose. And then, of course, as I know many people in the group are, you're someone who is an existing business owner and that is your thing. That is what you work on full time. So we can see these perhaps as different stages of purpose in terms of looking at the way that we're going to look at things in this group, looking in terms of the businesses that we run, in terms of how we market these businesses. But even for those of us who have an established business and feel that we're really aligned with what we're doing and this is our baby, it's our thing, it's the direction and journey that we want to go on in life, I still think that purpose is something we're constantly searching for in our lives. I think it's a journey that never quite has that final destination. I was actually listening to a podcast this morning, and the gentleman on it, Shep Gordon, on the Jordan Harbinger show, for anyone who listens to the Jordan Harbinger show or is familiar with Shep Gordon, he's an agent for people like Alice Cooper and Luther Vandross back in the day. And he was asked about purpose and he said, I think everyone is kidding if they say they found their purpose in life. And I think we as humanity are kidding if we say we think we know our purpose in life. I don't think we'll ever truly know why we're actually here. What is our true purpose in life? That was his answer to the question of purpose. And I think my answer is something similar. I think that purpose is a journey rather than a destination. It's something we're constantly striving towards, honing, refining, clarifying for ourselves. And what I hope to do with the half hour that I've got with you today is to help you along that journey, help you gain some of that extra clarity. So whether you are someone who is kind of starting from the beginning of this journey that I just mapped out, where you're in a job, you know this isn't your purpose, you're not even entirely sure what your purpose might be, or if you're someone who is really getting on with things, you've got your love child, you've got your own business, you're making good progress with it, this is something that I think is going to be useful wherever you are on this journey, because purpose is something we can always hone in and clarify a little bit more. And when we get more in line with our purpose, things start to become clearer for us. We can make better decisions about what we're doing in life. We can allocate our time more effectively. We can dig deep into the mastery of skills that are in line with our purpose, rather than just things that we need to do or we feel we're obligated to do. So with this in mind, I've got 3 things to cover with you today. I'm going to start with a slightly broader conceptual look of purpose, and this is really to help the people or at least to help most people who are at the beginning of their journey and really don't have a clue what their purpose is. But as I said, it's applicable to all of us to find that extra clarity. We're going to start off a conceptual look of getting an idea of where your purpose begins for you. Then I'm going to start narrowing down a little bit further, and we're going to look at, well, once you get an idea of what your purpose might look like, or the first step in that journey, how do you start to navigate that pathway for yourself? How do you start to navigate that journey? And then that's going to bring it all the way to the end, where I'm actually going to outline a much more kind of strategic, tactical, technical look at, well, what is purpose? How can we work on purpose in a systematic, disciplined matter? And really start to narrow down and hone in on getting that purpose clarified for ourselves. So that's the journey that I'm going to take you on today. I hope you're going to enjoy it with me. As I can see the eyeballs tuning in, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed Speakers Week so far here in the group, and I hope you enjoy this little session that we're running today. So, without further preamble, let's kick into this. Let's start finding our pathway to purpose. And I would like to begin at the beginning. And this is where I advise all people to go. When I'm working with my students and clients, and so many of them, bless them, just don't have a clue what their purpose is. They don't even have a clue where to start. I take them back to the beginning. And I say, imagine when you were at school and the teachers asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you get asked this from a very early age, don't you? From your first couple of years in school, the teachers ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And when we're that age, the first couple of years at school, we're maybe only 5 or 6 years old, we give the most outlandish, ridiculous answers, don't we? We say, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a rally driver. I want to be a cowboy. I want to be a princess. And we give these outlandish answers because we don't know any better, do we? When we're that age, we don't know about real jobs. No 5-year-old says, I would like to be a project manager. No 5-year-old says, I would like to be a civil engineer. No 5-year-old says, I would like to be a property solicitor. 5-year-olds don't say these real jobs because they don't have an understanding of real jobs. What they have an understanding of is the fantastical, the things that capture their imagination, these wild, outlandish roles and jobs that aren't even jobs. You can't get a job as a cowboy, you can't get a job as a princess, can you? Now at this age, these aspirations are humoured. Oh, you want to be an astronaut, that's amazing. Oh, you want to be a rally driver, that's fantastic. Oh, you want to be a princess, that's lovely. Eventually though, we get to the age where one day the story changes and we get a very different response. One day, somebody asks us, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we give these wonderful, imaginative, creative answers. And that person says, okay, sure, but what are you going to do for a real job? What are you going to do to earn money? And it's at this point that so many aspirations, so many ambitions, so many dreams are halted in their tracks. And this is something that actually happened for me. When I go back to that beginning point in life, and people used to ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said I want to be an author. I love stories. I was fascinated with books. I loved having books being read to me. I could actually read before I could properly speak. I would lose myself in books day to day. When I played, I would create all these alternate universes and realities. I loved stories. I was enthralled by them. And at that age, when I grew up, I wanted to do something that involved stories. And so I saw, well, the immediate path to that was being an author. Being someone who wrote these books that I loved reading and having read to me. And I had exactly the same thing happen to me. At some point, somebody said, being an author didn't count as a real job. Being an author wasn't a path to earn money. Now I can go down a whole different path and tell you the punchline story where, surprise, surprise, I did become an author, but that's a story for another time and another day. What I want to focus on is your particular path and your particular answer to this question. When you think back to that time, what was the answer you gave to that question? If you guys have pen and paper right now, if you've got a notepad, if you've got a journal with you, if you've been taking notes while you've been watching these series of videos here in Speaker Week, I want you to just write down the answer to that question just now. What did you want to be when you grew up? What was the first aspiration that you remember having? And by the way, it doesn't matter what the answer is. It doesn't matter if it's a stupid answer, it doesn't matter if it's an unrealistic answer, it doesn't matter if it's an answer that's not even possible. If you wanted to be a dinosaur farmer when you were a child, write that down. I know it is impossible to be a dinosaur farmer unless Jurassic Park comes true. I'm still hoping it will, but let's face it, probably not. If you wanted to be a dinosaur farmer, write that down. If you wanted to be that astronaut, write that down. If you wanted to be that princess, I know a lot of ladies out there watching this probably did, write that down. Now, why am I asking you to write down this aspiration, even though it's probably unrealistic, it's probably not going to happen? Let's face it, I'm not coming on here today and saying, well, because you wanted to be an astronaut at 5, now at 45, you can leave your job, you can pack it in, you can follow your dreams, and you can become an astronaut. Because let's face it, that's not going to happen. If you want to be an astronaut, there is a very specific path to that, and there are certain checkpoints and criteria that you have to fulfill, and if you're watching this and you haven't fulfilled them yet, it's not going to happen. So I'm not here telling you to follow your dreams and whatever you wanted to be at 5 years old, you can make that happen. That's not what this exercise is about. What this exercise is about is not the thing, the job, the title, the role. What I want you to identify in this exercise is the feeling behind that. The feeling behind that. That's so key to this process. Why did you want to be a dinosaur farmer? Why did you want to be an astronaut? Why did you want to be a princess? What was that feeling? What was that emotion where that idea, that role, that aspiration captured you out of all of the rest? Because I had loads of people in my cohort who wanted to be the astronauts and the rally drivers and the cowboys. I wasn't captured by that. I was captured by books. I was captured by the idea of being an author. What was the emotional driver that attached you to that particular role, to that particular idea? And that's what we're going to be exploring in the time that we have here today. We want to chase that feeling. Chase that feeling because I believe at that age, we are not scripted and burdened by society's beliefs, society's patterns, society's rules. At 5 or 6 year old, you're about as authentic as you're ever going to be. And that word authentic is being overused so much nowadays, but the real essence of that word I think applies in this case. You have a much deeper connection with who you are as a person at that age than at any other time. You are most in tune with what your personal truth is. And your personal truth in this particular scenario was that feeling. And because you didn't have the experience and you didn't have the maturity, you couldn't articulate that feeling into something more realistic, into something that's actually a job and a role and a career path in the world. But you can now. Now you can match the emotion with the intellect, which you couldn't do at that age. So what we're trying to identify is, what was that driving emotion that attached you to that role? So for example, if you wanted to be an astronaut, as I said, you're not going to be an astronaut. Sorry guys. But why did you want to be an astronaut? Was it the idea of exploring new frontiers? Was it that sense of adventure? Because there's more than one way to explore new frontiers and gain a sense of adventure than being an astronaut. That is the feeling we're trying to replicate, because that feeling can be activated in loads of different domains. Being an astronaut is not the only pathway to purpose for you. So once we get that feeling, once we get that emotion, this is what we want to follow in our lives. And this is why I believe that there's some terrible advice dished out in motivational videos, in commencement speeches, and that advice is follow your passion. Follow your passion. Passion is a very fleeting emotion. We feel passion when our sports team wins. We feel passion when we're engaged in a political debate. We feel passion when we make love with someone. Passion is good, it's a good emotion, but it's a short-lived and ultimately a fairly weak emotion. We don't want to be following our passion, we want to be following something deeper than that. That deep emotion that we want to be following, rather than passion, is enthusiasm. And I bet if you think back to that time as a child, You were captured by that role, that idea, that aspiration, because there was a sense of enthusiasm with it, and aliveness, that boundless energy that we have so much as kids and we tend to lose as we get older. We don't want to follow our passion, we want to follow our enthusiasm, that relentless, seemingly overbrimming, overflowing energy that is attached to an idea, attached to a path that we can take. Interestingly, the word enthusiasm comes from the ancient Greek, entheos, the God within. When you are activating your enthusiasm, you are activating the God within you. And that is a far more powerful feeling and emotion and driver to get yourself behind than passion. Passion is short-lived and weak. Enthusiasm, it's strong, it's taking you a long way. So this is really the essence of what we're trying to get to. We're trying to capture that emotion behind the idea. And what we're really trying to get to is into our deep, deep enthusiasm, that boundless energy that we had as children and we often lose as adults. So when we have that emotional driver, when you're connected with, yes, that was why I wanted to do this. Yes, this is why that role, that aspiration activates so much for me. Now we want to start getting some strategy to it. Now we want to start getting some structure, some direction. Because it's all very well having that drive and energy, but if you don't have any direction to it, it's kind of like having a Ferrari but not having a GPS. Yes, the car is going to take you fast. Yes, it can take you far, but if you don't have it pointed in the right direction, you can end up in the middle of nowhere and have a Ferrari that doesn't have any petrol left in the tank. So how do we start to add structure and finesse to this? And with this in mind, I want to introduce you to our final concept of this training today. And this is a concept called Ikigai. So Ikigai comes from Japanese culture. And in particular, it comes from this island called Okinawa. Okinawa is a fascinating place because it's where you'll find the longest living people on Earth. The longest living people on Earth. The average life expectancy on this island archipelago of Okinawa is over 90 years old. There are 3 times as many centenarians per head of population in Okinawa as there are in mainland Japan, per head of population. They also have the highest number of super centenarians in the world. That's people who live to 110 years old. The people in this culture live a long, long time. And naturally, as with all outliers, scientists have been fascinated with this culture in this island. And so they've gone in and they've examined what are the factors behind the long life, behind the longevity, and they found lots of answers which you would take to be common sense and intuitive. But one of the things they've highlighted is this cultural concept called Ikigai. Ikigai. Now, Ikigai translates roughly from Japanese as the happiness of always working. Well, we can see it as, in the West, is your life's purpose, your reason for being. So, would you like to have a bit of Ikigai in your life? Well, apart from anything else, it's going to help you live a lot longer. So how can we find our own personal Ikigai? How can we find our happiness of always working, our life's purpose? I recommend this fantastic book on the subject, Ikigai, by it's Hector Garcia and Francesc Morales. I recommend giving that a little read. And what you'll find in this book is lots of the different factors behind why the Okinawans live so long. But in particular, it explores the 4 components of Ikigai. Your Ikigai, as I hope you can see on the camera, is made up of doing something you love, something you're good at, something the world needs, and yep, if I can reach, something you can get paid for. These 4 components, what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and something you can get paid for, are the essence of your Ikigai. They're the essence of your purpose. And what you find a lot with people that you work with in terms of your clients, in terms of your customers, and certainly for the people who I work with, is that there's a missing piece in the equation. And perhaps for yourself in your life as well, there's a missing piece in that equation. There's something in those 4 components that aren't fulfilled. And what I often find is that it's the love component. My clients are doing something that they're very good at. It's something that the world needs. It's something they get paid for, sometimes a lot of money, but they can't stand it. They're miserable. They hate it. It's not what they want to do. It's not what they feel like they were meant to do in their life. And so what you've got to find is, what is something that fulfills all 4 criteria for you? So the exercise you can do in this regard is get yourself a piece of paper. You can do it right now on your notes, on your journal, your notepad, wherever it might be, and draw these 4 concentric circles. Love, good, needs, paid. And write everything that applies for each of those circles. So what are all the things that you love doing? What are all the things that you're good at? What are all the things that serve people, that help people, that you've been able to contribute to the lives of others with? And what are all the things that you can get paid for? What are all the things you have been paid for? What are all the things that you could get paid for? I see, oh, sorry, I'm going to butcher this name. Lakshmi Dev has left a comment. Apologies, that was probably terrible pronunciation. Love the synchronicity in our messages today. Yes, I had a little look at what had been going on today, and I saw yours. Yes, I think there is a bit of synchronicity. It's good that we're getting these common ideas and these common themes coming through here in Speakers Week. So thank you for coming on and watching mine. Lakshmi, I'm really, really sorry. Pretty close, all right? Thank you. Thank you for the engagement. So yes, this is an exercise that you can do. Get those 4 concentric circles and just plaster everything in those circles. Word vomit. Even the stuff that seems weird and stupid and will never be your life's purpose. So one of the things that I love doing is I actually love talking to neighborhood cats. I'm a bit of a weirdo in that way. If the neighbor's cat is sitting at the front gate or sitting on a wall, I'll go up and I'll speak to it and have a conversation with it. I actually assign all these different names and personalities to the cats in my neighborhood. My neighbors must think I'm a right weirdo. But I actually get a lot of interaction back from the cats. You've got to persist with the felines. They're tough to love, but once you get on their soft sides, they melt like butter in your hand. So anyway, that's something that I love to do. Now, do I think that my life's purpose is to become some kind of cat whisperer? No, of course I don't. But plaster it all down anyway. All of the random things that you've gotten weird good skills at. Are you weirdly good at general knowledge in pub quizzes, for example? What's something you can get paid for? Well, I can bake a half-decent cake. I don't think I'd ever want to sell cakes, but I could sell cakes. People do make money selling cakes. Put it all down. Don't self-censor and edit at this particular point. The idea being that once you have all of these things, you start to see the commonalities. You start to see, well, here's something I love doing, and I'm also quite good at it. So, for example, I love writing. I love the process of writing a book, and judging by the number of people who've bought my books, I'm quite good at it as well. So there is something that's starting to cross over the boundaries, and you'll start to see these little crossovers and these little matchups. And ideally, what of course you want is the one thing that fulfills 4 criteria. That's the sweet spot. That's where you start to get an idea of, yes, this is me honing in on what my purpose is. Now, I'm sure for a number of you watching this, and certainly a number of people who I work with, they don't have the 4 out of 4. There's something missing. They've only got a 3. They've only got a couple of 2s, and sometimes they just have a series of 1s that don't link up at all. This is okay, and again, this is where you've got to be careful not to focus on the thing, not to focus on the object, but to focus on the underlying idea, the driving emotion behind it. And I'll just finish off quickly with a kind of a client story of somebody who I was working with as I was going through this process with them, just to wrap up and illustrate where this exercise is going. So she had done this exercise, and she's got a fantastic wealth of life experience. She's done so much and dipped her hand in so many different buckets. And so we did this Ikigai process, and she had so much, but she wasn't charting all the links. So she had things like she'd worked in Fiji, and she loved this local Fijian flower. She was really interested in creating some kind of sustainable business. She used to work as a reflexologist. She wanted to do something involved in sustainability. So when you look at all these objects, all of these things, you say, well, how does this possibly link? How do flowers and reflexology and flip-flops and sustainability, how do they all link together? So I said to her, you're a reflexologist. Now, the thing that's notorious with flip-flops is that they're terrible for your posture. They're terrible for your feet. You're not supposed to wear them for a long period of time. With your reflexology knowledge, you could make a flip-flop that is good for your posture, good for your feet. Even better, you can make that flip-flop out of 100% recycled material. So, what you're ticking off so far is you wanted to make flip-flops, you're using your skill as a reflexologist, you're making this sustainable business, and the cherry on top, remember that time you worked in Fiji and there was that flower that you loved so much? I've forgotten the name of it, unfortunately. I'll have to research it again and remind myself. That flower that you love so much, that could be your logo. It could be the logo on the flip-flops, that could be the logo for your brand. We've taken 4 seemingly unrelated ideas and pieced them together. Now, the irony of this is actually she decided to do something completely different. We didn't go for the flip-flop idea, but they just illustrated to her and helped her clarify how she could link all the things in her life that she'd been able to do and bring that into her new direction, into her new purpose that she was pursuing. And that's what this exercise is all about, is trying to find the links, and the links will be there. And at the surface level, it might appear that you've got all of these unrelated skills and experiences, but you can start to merge them and mesh them together and bring them into a common idea, a common theme, a common emotion and energy. And that is your pathway to purpose. And that is where you start. You piece together the things, and then you go out there and you start experimenting, you start exploring. You start saying, well, you know what, I've always liked cooking, and people say that my cooking is really good. How about I try and explore this a little bit further to develop new recipes, to get a deeper culinary craft and vision behind what I can do with my cooking. And maybe I start selling some things. Maybe I start selling some baking. Maybe I explore opening a cafe. Let's see if cooking is my purpose. And it might not be. But that's okay, because you've explored, you've experimented, you've tried, and you always come back with new information, new ideas, new knowledge, and that goes into that Venn diagram. You just keep adding and adding and adding to this until you're piecing together more ideas, more themes, more skills, more driving themes and emotions. And that is going to help you ultimately go down your pathway to purpose. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed this session today. I've enjoyed speaking with you. I've enjoyed mispronouncing your names terribly. I look forward to watching more of you, I'm sure, who are watching this are going to actually be speaking here in Speakers Week. So well done to everyone who's gone so far. Good luck to everyone who's come. It's been an honor and a privilege to speak with you here today on Speakers Week. And I hope you found this useful. And you might even find this process works really well with some of your clients and customers, depending on what industry you're in, what niche you're in. Feel free to explore this process with the people you work with as well as yourself, because I think it's so good when you try something with yourself, you see that it works, and you get to share that experience. You get to share that almost proof of success that you found with other people, and seeing other people go through the same journey, again, the same breakthroughs and revelations that you remember getting, is a hugely satisfying experience. And that's why I love doing what I love doing so much, and I'm sure it's exactly the same for you guys as well. So folks, I will leave you to have your dinner, to watch the replays, and I'll see all of you later on here in Speakers Week. Good night. If you've enjoyed today's episode and you'd like to take your education with Author Your Life a little bit further, then I'd love for you to join us in the brand new Author Your Life Academy. The Author Your Life Academy is an online educational community where you can start a new and exciting chapter of your life. In the Academy, there is ongoing, extended, exclusive training to help you build the skills that you need to grow and develop in your life. You get to join a community of aspirational story changers who are supporting you, encouraging you, and celebrating with you along your journey. I'm also in there as well, providing tailored specific mentorship through live question and answer sessions and priority access through messaging and emails. If you'd like to enroll in the Academy, you can do so for just $27 a month. That's £20 for those of you in the UK. When you join, you get 3 awesome bonuses. You get an audiobook, you get an online course, and you get a ticket to one of my live events. So if you're ready to start something new and exciting in your life, come join us in the Author Your Life Academy. You can find out more about how you enroll by going to www.authoryourlife.org/academy. I'd love to see you in there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it hugely if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the podcast. With your review, please be as honest and detailed as you can be. Because with honest and detailed feedback, that helps me to adapt and grow this podcast to most serve you, the listener. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you aren't going to miss any of the future episodes that we've got lined up for you. Until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story.